This is a bench supply I made after some some ideas and some inspiration off of Instructables and a couple others I'd seen around. My goal was to have some variable output and some fixed output, and then I thought it'd be nice to just have a basic built-in voltmeter and amp meter, just for quick readings. It isn't extremely it doesn't give you a whole lot of decimal places, but it works for just quick readings on stuff. So here's turns on, and this first one, well, so this one is fixed. The LEDs are a little bit overwhelming. Gotta do something about that. But this one is a fixed 5 volts out, these two here, and then these two over here are a fixed 12 volt out, and then this is just a standalone voltmeter and a standalone amp meter, and then over here we have the variable output, the variable channel, and then it also has an amp meter to measure whatever load you have on it. So these ones you externally measure, and this one is just showing you whatever load is plugged into here. So I use this one all the time. It's extremely handy, and the amp meter is nice. So I know having an open power supply is always a good idea, but I'll show you the inside. I opted for, has some screws that I took out. I opted for a, let's turn it off right now. So it has a little indicator light to tell you when the capacitors are empty. Takes quite a few seconds, which is anyway, so I opted for some switching regulators. Originally, when I designed the first schematic, I was using a bunch of linear regulators for the different outputs, but then I found these little buck converters on eBay for $1, and so that pretty much got rid of any heat issues. I don't really need any heat sinks for anything in here, at least that I've seen yet. I did let out some white smoke a few days ago, so we're back up and running from that. Anyway, we do have at the back here, we've got the plug, the socket mount, and also a fuse. So the fuse is screwed into here, and our main switch here lets the mains power run through that fuse here before we get to this side of our transformer. And then have our bridge rectifier to give us our DC, and then we have overkill on the smoothing capacitors. So I looked for a good way to figure out how much smoothing capacitors we need, and I decided better to have too many than too little. So it does take a few seconds to drain out when I turn it off, but hopefully the power is smooth. Anyway, and then I just ran all these. Each channel just has their own runoff from the main, voltage that's coming out here. So this one here runs a fixed, let's see, that's the 5 volt. This one is set at 12 volts, so these just have a little potentiometer, pretty easy to set the voltage. And then this one I just pinned out the I just stuck this potentiometer on instead of the one that it came with. So and then the other thing we have is just this fourth one, and the fourth one is just to run all the extras. So from this fourth one, that's what powers our meters right here, and then also it powers so the amp meters was kind of tricky because they can't be powered by the same source that they measure, and so that was a stumbling block for a little bit. For a while when I wanted to use it, I just had a 9 volt battery. I just plugged in and had a 9 volt sitting here to power the amp meters. But what I found was these little things called an isolated power module, and basically you just put 12 volts in and it gives you 12 volts out, and it's isolated from the rest of the circuit. So that way, either this amp meter right here, I could measure whatever load is being powered off any of these, and that's how also I can power this and measure out of the same supply. So started, yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's the power supply. It's pretty handy. So this will go up to, out of this transformer, this is, it puts out 24 volts AC, and once it gets rectified to DC, it is 38 volts. So these voltmeters will only measure, I think, to 32 or 33 volts, but technically I can keep turning and it should allow for the full 38, I think, but I don't use that high voltage. Anyway, so that's my power supply. Use it all the time. Works great. Thanks to those who built similar things to give me the ideas to do it. And I guess I'll put in a few links with some credits. So that's it.